Chapter 1. The Return. The morning sun cast long shadows across the sprawling grounds of the Colorado Wildlife Sanctuary, painting the tall grass in shades of gold and amber. Dr. Sarah Mitchell stepped out of her rental car, the familiar scent of pine and earth filling her lungs as memories she had buried for 5 years came rushing back. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her backpack, the weight of her camera equipment a comforting reminder of why she was here. "Sarah!" a voice called from across the parking lot. She turned to see Marcus Rodriguez, the sanctuary's director, walking toward her with his characteristic warm smile. His graying beard was fuller than she remembered, and new lines around his eyes spoke of the years that had passed. "I can't believe you're actually here. When you called last week, I thought I was dreaming." Sarah managed a smile, though her heart was racing. "I couldn't stay away forever, Marcus. This place, it's where everything began for me." She gestured toward the expanses of natural habitat stretching beyond the visitor center, where tall fencing and carefully maintained ecosystems housed dozens of rescued animals. "How is everyone? The team? Most of the old crew is still here. Jenny's now our head veterinarian, and Tom expanded the education program beyond anything we imagined." Marcus paused, studying her face with the gentle concern she remembered so well. "Sarah, I have to ask, are you sure you're ready for this? Seeing him again after all these years?" The question hung in the air like morning mist. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, remembering the last day she had spent at the sanctuary, the argument with her father, the ultimatum about her impractical career choice, the painful decision to leave Colorado and accept the prestigious position at the National Geographic documentary team. She had been 26 then, full of dreams, but torn between family expectations and her passion for wildlife conservation. "I need to see Atlas," she said quietly. "I need to know if he remembers." Marcus nodded, understanding. Atlas had been just a 2-year-old lion cub when Sarah first arrived at the sanctuary as a young wildlife biology graduate. Rescued from an illegal breeding operation, he had been malnourished, traumatized, and deeply distrustful of humans. Sarah had spent countless hours with him, slowly building trust through patience, consistency, and genuine care. She had documented every milestone of his rehabilitation, from his first playful interaction with enrichment toys to his gradual integration with the sanctuary's other rescued lions. Their bond had been extraordinary. Atlas would respond to Sarah's voice from across his habitat, would approach the fence when she called his name, and had even learned to participate in voluntary medical procedures because of the trust she had cultivated. The other staff members often joked that Atlas had chosen Sarah as his special human. "He's in the North Habitat now," Marcus explained as they walked toward the main building. 7 years old, fully grown, magnificent. "We've maintained the same enrichment schedule you developed, and he's thriving. But Sarah," Marcus stopped walking and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "He's been different since you left, less interactive with staff, more solitary. We've never been able to replicate the connection he had with you." Sarah felt a pang of guilt mixed with anticipation. She had left not just a job, but a responsibility. Atlas had needed her, and she had chosen career advancement over their bond. The 5 years since had been professionally successful. She had filmed documentaries in Africa, studied jaguar populations in Brazil, won awards for her conservation photography. But there had always been an emptiness, a sense that she had left part of herself in Colorado. "Dr. Mitchell," Jenny's excited voice interrupted her thoughts. Her former colleague emerged from the veterinary clinic, older but still radiating the same passionate energy Sarah remembered. "Oh my gosh, look at you. You look exactly the same. Well, more tan maybe. All that African sun." The reunion was warm but brief. Sarah's eyes kept drifting toward the path that led to the North Habitat. Finally, Marcus seemed to understand her urgency. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's go see him. But Sarah, I want you to be prepared. He's not the playful cub you remember. He's a powerful, mature male lion now, and it's been 5 years. We don't know how he'll react." As they walked along the familiar gravel path, Sarah's heart pounded with each step. The sounds of the sanctuary surrounded her, the distant roar of a mountain lion, the chatter of rescued primates, the splash of otters in their pond. But all she could focus on was the approaching sight of the habitat where Atlas lived. They reached the observation area, a raised platform that provided a safe viewing space separated from the lion's territory by a double fence system. Sarah gripped the railing, scanning the habitat's vast expanse of natural grass, scattered trees, and rocky outcroppings. There, Marcus whispered, pointing toward a shaded area beneath a large oak tree. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Atlas lay in the dappled shade, his magnificent golden coat gleaming in the filtered sunlight. He had indeed grown into a spectacular lion, easily 400 pounds of pure muscle and grace, his dark mane full and impressive. He appeared to be resting, his great head resting on his massive paws, eyes closed against the warm Colorado morning. For a moment, Sarah simply stood there, drinking in the sight of him. All her professional composure melted away as she remembered the scrawny, frightened cub who used to curl up near the fence whenever she sat quietly reading her research notes aloud. "Atlas," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Chapter 2. The recognition. The single whispered word seemed to carry across the habitat like a prayer. Atlas's ear twitched slightly, but he remained motionless beneath the oak tree. Sarah felt Marcus and Jenny holding their breath beside her, the anticipation almost unbearable. "Try calling him properly," Jenny whispered encouragingly, "the way you used to." Sarah's throat felt dry. What if he didn't remember? What if 5 years had erased their bond completely? She cleared her throat softly and spoke in the gentle, melodic tone she had always used with him. "Atlas, my beautiful boy, it's me." This time the great lion's head lifted slowly from his paws. His golden eyes, still heavy with sleep, scanned the habitat lazily before settling on the observation platform. For a moment, he simply stared in their direction, his expression unreadable. Sarah's heart sank. He was looking through her, not at her. She was just another visitor now, another stranger peering into his world from behind the safety of barriers. But then, something extraordinary happened. Atlas rose to his feet in one fluid motion, his massive frame now fully visible. His head tilted slightly to the left, the same curious gesture Sarah remembered from his cubhood. He took 3 deliberate steps forward, then stopped. His nostrils flared as he tested the air, catching scents carried on the morning breeze. "He's analyzing," Marcus murmured, looking for confirmation of something he thinks he recognizes. Sarah leaned forward against the railing, her voice stronger now. "Atlas, do you remember the song I used to sing? The one about the brave lion who found his way home?" She began to hum the simple melody she had created years ago during Atlas's rehabilitation. It was a silly song, really, something she had improvised during the long hours she spent helping him overcome his fear of humans. But it had become their special ritual, a soothing sound that could calm him during veterinary procedures or thunderstorms. The effect was immediate and stunning. Atlas's entire body language changed. His ears pricked forward, his tail began to twitch with growing excitement, and he started moving toward the fence with increasing urgency, not running, but walking with purpose, his golden eyes never leaving Sarah's face. "Oh my God," Jenny breathed. "He knows. He actually knows it's you." When Atlas reached the inner fence, still separated from them by the safety barrier, he did something that made Sarah's eyes fill with tears. He sat down in the exact spot where he used to wait for her every morning, a particular patch of worn earth near a fence post that had been his favorite meeting place when he was young. Then he vocalized. It wasn't a roar or a growl, but a deep, rumbling sound that lion researchers call a Proustan, a friendly greeting that lions typically reserve for individuals they recognize and trust. The sound was so distinctly affectionate that Marcus actually stepped back in amazement. "In 15 years of working with big cats," he whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." Sarah couldn't hold back her tears anymore. "Hi, baby," she whispered, then louder. "Hi, my brave boy. I'm so sorry I left you." Atlas responded with another soft vocalization and began pacing along the fence line, his movements displaying a level of excitement and agitation that was completely unlike his usual calm demeanor. He would walk a few steps, stop and look directly at Sarah, then continue his pacing pattern. "He's trying to get closer to you," Jenny observed, her professional fascination evident. "Look at his body language. Ears forward, tail active, no signs of stress or aggression. This is pure recognition. And I can't believe I'm saying this about a lion, but it looks like joy." Sarah found herself matching Atlas's movement along the outer barrier, walking parallel to him as he paced. Every few steps, they would both stop simultaneously, maintaining eye contact across the double fence system. It was as if they were re-establishing their old communication patterns, testing the boundaries of their remembered connection. "Sarah," Marcus said carefully, "I need to ask you something, and please think carefully before you answer. Would you be willing to consider coming back? Not just for a visit, but permanently?" The question caught her off guard. She turned away from Atlas for a moment, looking at Marcus with surprise. "What do you mean? We've been struggling with funding for 2 years now. The state grants are drying up and corporate sponsorships are harder to find. We need someone with your credentials, your documentation skills, your ability to tell these animals' stories in a way that moves people to action. Marcus gestured toward Atlas, who had stopped pacing and was watching their conversation intently. And clearly, you have something special here that can't be replicated. Sarah looked back at Atlas, whose golden eyes seemed to be studying her, with an intelligence that still amazed her after all these years of working with wildlife. In that gaze, she saw not just recognition, but something that looked remarkably like hope. "I've built a career," she said softly. 5 years of work, international assignments, a reputation, and you've been miserable. Jenny added gently, "I follow your work, Sarah. Your photographs are technically perfect. Your documentaries are award-winning, but there's something missing. The passion that used to light you up when you talked about conservation. It's not there anymore in your recent interviews." Atlas made another soft vocalization, as if agreeing with Jenny's assessment. Despite everything she had accomplished in the past 5 years, Sarah realized that her former colleague was right. She had been successful, but not happy. She had found professional recognition, but not fulfillment. The position would come with full research autonomy, Marcus continued. Your own budget for equipment, the ability to document not just our work here, but wildlife conservation efforts throughout the region. We're talking about building a comprehensive multimedia program that could serve as a model for sanctuaries nationwide. Sarah pressed her palms against the railing, feeling the cool metal beneath her hands. Atlas had settled back into his sitting position, but his attention remained focused entirely on her. In his patient stillness, she recognized the same quality that had drawn her to him years ago, an almost human-like ability to simply be present, to offer companionship without demands or expectations. The choice before her wasn't just about career versus passion anymore. It was about coming home. Chapter 3. Coming Home. 2 weeks later, Sarah stood in the same observation area, but everything had changed. The morning mist clung to the Colorado mountains as she adjusted her new camera equipment, not the expensive gear from her National Geographic assignments, but sturdy, practical equipment designed for long-term field documentation. Her resignation from the documentary team had been difficult but liberating. For the first time in 5 years, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. "Ready for your first official day back?" Marcus asked, joining her at the platform with 2 steaming cups of coffee. The sanctuary director looked more relaxed than she had seen him in years, the stress lines around his eyes softened by genuine relief. "As ready as anyone can be for starting over at 31, Sarah replied, accepting the coffee gratefully. The familiar routine felt natural, as if she had never left. Atlas was already waiting in his usual spot by the fence, as he had been every morning since her return. His massive form was alert and attentive, golden eyes tracking her movements with the same intense focus she remembered from his cubhood. Over the past 2 weeks, they had slowly rebuilt their connection through daily sessions that gradually extended in duration. "He's been different since you came back," Jenny observed, emerging from the veterinary clinic with her tablet and morning assessment notes. "More active, more engaged with enrichment activities. Yesterday he actually participated in a voluntary blood draw without any hesitation, something we haven't been able to accomplish in 3 years. Sarah smiled, watching as Atlas rose and began his familiar pacing pattern along the fence line. "We had a routine," she explained. "Trust building isn't just about individual moments, it's about consistency, reliability, showing up every single day." Today marked a significant milestone. After extensive discussions with the sanctuary's board and careful behavioral assessments, they had approved Sarah's request to resume protected contact sessions with Atlas. It meant entering the secure corridor between the double fence system, closer than any staff member had been to him since her departure. "Are you nervous?" Marcus asked as they walked toward the secure entrance. Sarah considered the question honestly. "Terrified," she admitted, "but not of Atlas. I'm scared of disappointing him again, of building back this trust only to have life pull me away once more." The secure corridor was exactly as she remembered, a narrow walkway between 2 high fences that allowed for closer interaction while maintaining safety protocols. As Sarah entered the space, Atlas immediately moved to the corresponding section of his enclosure. The distance between them was now only about 4 feet, separated by heavy-gauge fencing. "Hello, beautiful boy," Sarah said softly, settling into a cross-legged position on the ground. "I brought something for you." She pulled out a small wooden puzzle box, a type of enrichment toy she had designed specifically for Atlas years earlier. Inside were pieces of his favorite treats, accessible only through manipulation and problem-solving. She had spent hours crafting the original versions, each one slightly more complex than the last. helping to stimulate his intelligence during his rehabilitation. Atlas's reaction was immediate and remarkable. His ears perked forward, and he approached the fence with a low, rumbling vocalization that clearly expressed recognition and excitement. Sarah slid the puzzle box through the feeding slot, and Atlas immediately began investigating it with the focused intensity of an animal remembering a beloved game. "Watch his technique," Sarah whispered to Marcus and Jenny, who were observing from a respectful distance. "He remembers the sequence. Look, he's not just randomly pawing at it. He's going directly for the mechanism that opens the first compartment." Atlas manipulated the puzzle box with careful precision, his powerful paws demonstrating remarkable dexterity as he worked through each level of the challenge. When he successfully accessed the treats, he looked directly at Sarah and made the soft Pruston sound that had become their signature greeting. "Now comes the real test," Sarah murmured. She began to hum the simple melody she had sung to him during his recovery, the song about the brave lion finding his way home. The effect was profound. Atlas settled down directly across from her, separated only by the fence, and simply listened. His great head rested on his paws, eyes half closed in contentment, occasional soft vocalizations harmonizing with her humming. For 20 minutes, they sat together in comfortable silence, occasionally exchanging soft sounds. Sarah documented the session with her camera, but more importantly, she felt the deep sense of peace and purpose that had been missing from her life for 5 years. "Sarah," Marcus said quietly as the session concluded, "I have some news. The footage you've shot over the past 2 weeks, combined with your documentation of Atlas's behavioral changes, has already attracted attention. The Colorado Department of Wildlife wants to feature our sanctuary in their new conservation campaign. We're talking about funding that could secure this place for the next decade." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes as she stood and prepared to leave the corridor. Atlas rose as well, following her movement along the fence line until she reached the exit. At the gate, she turned back to him. "I'm not leaving this time," she promised him. "We're going to do amazing work together, my brave boy. We're going to show the world what conservation really means." As if understanding her words, Atlas vocalized one final time, a deep, resonant sound that seemed to echo approval and contentment across the entire sanctuary. 3 months later, Sarah stood on a stage at the International Wildlife Conservation Conference in Denver, a massive photograph of Atlas behind her as she addressed an audience of researchers, activists, and donors from around the world. "Connection," she said, her voice clear and confident, "is the foundation of all meaningful conservation work. We cannot protect what we do not understand, and we cannot understand what we refuse to truly see. The lion you see behind me taught me that coming home, to our values, to our purpose, to the relationships that define us, is not a step backward. It's the courage to move forward with authenticity." In the audience, Marcus and Jenny beamed with pride. Back at the sanctuary, Atlas rested peacefully in his habitat, where Sarah would return that evening to continue the work that had brought them both home. The story of the lion who remembered and the woman who found her way back to him had become more than a tale of reconnection. It had become a testament to the power of choosing purpose over prestige and love over ambition. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is return to where your heart has always belonged.